What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, just wanted to bring you a update here on these. We're basically just going to do some studs and duds from this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we get into it, just want to say again, this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. Right now, guys, the Colts still are the favorites to win the AFC South. The odds have changed a little bit, though. The favoritism is not there anymore. So if you're still thinking the Colts are going to win the division, take advantage of that. You think the Jaguars might take it, go ahead and take advantage. But shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this episode. Okay, so let's go ahead and head to the studs because obviously you lose this week. There's going to be a few more duds than what you typically have. So studs from the players' side here. Only two offensive players that I can really give as studs that happened this week. And I would give that to Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce. Both guys, 115 yards receiving on the day. Both of them equaled out to 15 catches for 230 yards in this game. Especially Alec Pierce, who had 3 catches for 64 yards on the opening drive for the Indianapolis Colts, really helped get this team going. And Pittman, who periodically throughout the game, even at the end of the game, was trying to do whatever he could to get this offense going. So shout out to them, and especially since both of them are the first wide receivers to get a 100-plus receiving yard game for the Colts this season, and they both did it in the same game and got the same number of yards. So pretty funny story there for the Colts' sake. But they are the only two real offensive studs that I would give to. Now, I know some people would maybe put Downs in this list, but I can't because I know he had 6 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown. I'm not denying that. That was the last touchdown of the game, which sucks. And also because he had that fumble at the beginning of the game. Now, obviously, nothing resulted in that of points, obviously, but it could have been. And it was a costly mistake, and it still took an offensive possession away from the Indianapolis Colts. So I can't give him a stud thing when he made such a big mistake in that game. So can't do that. Okay, and then going to the defense. 2 players in particular that stood out to me. Jalen Jones is one that definitely stood out to me, mainly due to the fact that, again, this was his first game this season. Did not play the entirety of the year because of the hamstring injury he sustained in the offseason, and came back, was stuck being with DK Metcalf the whole game, did not allow DK Metcalf to do anything to shape the game in any way, shape, or form, and for standing up for his teammate in Kenny Moore after DK Metcalf tried to act like a bully out there on the edge. So I give all the credit to Jalen Jones. He had the toughest matchup for the defense in this game, and he delivered. And also, I will give credits to Latu in this game. 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 3 QB hits, may possibly be the best game that Latu has had so far this season. So kudos to him for being one of the few players defensively that really rose to the occasion and was being a menace back there. So great job by Latu to be able to do what he did and make a stand defensively. So those are your 4 studs. Those are your 4 studs that I'm going to give. Now let's go to the duds. Firstly, you got to mention Daniel Jones. Obviously, Daniel Jones had a couple of mishaps with interceptions yesterday. Not his greatest performance. Far from it. And, we expect better out of Daniel Jones. Hopefully he combats it. But for this game, this was definitely not a good game for him. Was missing a few throws, and interception wise just wasn't making the best of decisions. Definitely a dud here in this one. And then these next two people, I have two things, but it's the entire group, not just players, the entire group. Offensive line, the entire offensive line was not good on Sunday. It just was not good. Not a good team outing. Obviously, the tackles and Braden Smith and Bernard Ryman both had their hands full and they did not deliver. Matt Gonsalves got beat on the inside a couple times. Bortolini didn't look great, and Quentin Nelson was not his usual self. And it usually happens a lot when he goes up against Cameron Hayward. So the O-line, you couldn't protect the quarterback, and you gave up 5 sacks, and you couldn't run the football effectively up the middle anyway. So obviously not their best performance. They were absolutely bad for the majority of this game, and that is definitely putting them on the dud list. And I would say, while this one, it's not overwhelmingly bad. I would say that the linebackers in coverage, once again, were not overall great. You did allow Darnell Washington and Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith to combine for 10 catches for nearly 100 yards in this game. I know not all of them was on the linebackers' fault, but the linebackers, again, they've had their issues. So, things needed to be better, and they weren't quite up to standard. Although, in the end, that I don't really blame them entirely for why the team itself was bad. So that's really it. I mean, again, you guys tell me who are some studs, who are some duds that you felt strongly about in this. I did not mention coaches. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just mentioning players. So is there any players that you guys think should have been on the studs list or should have been on the duds list that you would like to see? But shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this episode. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much. And as always, Colts.